Hello and welcome. Today on the sofa we have Rasteen, who is running for sports officer. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for this position.
Sure. I'm Rasteen, and I really like sport. I am currently a third year in history of art. Shout out to my 7 other course mates. And I'm club captain of lacrosse, and I'm the deputy editor-in-chief of The Ripple. I'm bilingual, I speak Farsi. It's really random, not relevant at all. Plucking at strings here.
Yeah,
and
so you're from Iran? Just put that out there.
Yeah, from Iran. And I was not really actually that sporty before I came to uni. It's a fun fact for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's been your motivation then to get you behind going for this position? Is it like a specific sport, or what's it been?
It's definitely not a specific sport. Like I'd like to think quite well rounded in that. I used to play a lot of hockey and netball at school, and then I'm quite an avid runner as well. Lacrosse is obviously like a huge part of my life. I think the reason I'm going for it, I keep having to ask myself because I'm really enthusiastic, but I think sometimes you like lose that kind of, wait, why are you doing this? But I kind of love change, and I like implementing change, and I like leaving my stamp on something and like making a difference. For example, with my club, like being club captain has been like extremely like challenging, but I think I've like made a huge difference, and like people, like alumni that have graduated that aren't in the club anymore keep telling me like, wow, you're doing a great job, and it's like, how do you know you're not part of my club? But like, I've like begun like 8 a.m. fitness sessions. I've started a sort of more stable seconds team. They had like more fixtures than our first team. I've like just done like a host of other stuff. Like we do tri-weekly bleep tests, which is horrible. But
Okay.
I like improving stuff, and I like leaving my mark on it.
Okay, so let's say you were elected as sports officer. What would your number one priority be?
Well, I think everyone's number one priority for me would be the free gym passes. But actually, my number one priority is to increase accessibility and diversity within sport, particularly down the LGBTQ and BAME routes.
Do you want to explain what this LGBTQ thing is for those who
Sure,
don't know?
yeah. LGBTQ is just an acronym. It's for lesbian, gay, transgender, and queer. Sort of people, who identify themselves as such. And we had a really awesome eye-opening lecture the other day by the LGBTQ plus. Oh, the plus is also important. It's like the sort of bit that doesn't fit into the aforementioned.
Okay.
And we heard some like really like just eye-opening stuff, and I think it's so important because it's so relevant, obviously, because they should be able to enjoy sport like other people, and it's not that they can't, but I think some of them who struggle with coming out with that sexuality find it sort of a common theme that recurs in sports teams. Do you have a boyfriend? It's like you can't just say that, because you can't assume they just have a boyfriend. Like they could have a girlfriend. Like you can't suddenly assume that. And there's like statistics by like Bournemouth University. I was reading. They conducted a study in 2013, and it was like 22% of participants from a sports team found that their coaches had used homophobic language, which is incredibly disgusting, because like people look up to coaches.
Definitely.
They're full of knowledge and inspiration. They're their teachers, and they should be setting an example. And then 33% admitted to using homophobic language, and that's just admittance. That's the smallest percentage it could truthfully be, and we can't like continue like that. It's one of my top priorities because I feel so passionately about it, and we need to introduce stuff like Pride themed week and UV rainbow nights, and like clubs identifying themselves as LGBTQ plus friendly. So
Okay, so this year, this sports officer role, it's something new. Mm-hmm. Do you want to explain why do you think we need a sports officer?
Sure. I think that sometimes like sports at Leicester is a little bit sidelined, not due to like the attention it's paid to by the university. I just think that sometimes Fiore and Paul, and I know they do, they struggle to like keep up with the influx of issues, the influx of sort of new events that are coming around, and I just think that with someone in place, whether it's me or Grace, I just think that it's really going to transform it, and we're going to get that sort of key point, which is communication, getting people interested, really out there. And that's worked really well with education, it's worked well with engagement, and it's worked well with well-being, and I think it now needs to happen with sport.
Okay, so going on for sport, are you aware of the 4 pillars of the sports strategy?
I think so.
Right, so I'll give them out to you. So the 4s are performance, podium, participation, and volunteering.
Yeah.
How would you go about encouraging these pillars to students?
Well, one of my really simple ideas, but I think is going to really work well, is I want to give every fresher, every single one, and there's thousands, isn't there, that come in every year. I want to give them each a nice little A5 booklet. And in this A5 booklet will be 3 sections. There will be a section for sports teams. There'll be a section for being in sports but not being involved in a sports team in particular. So that program that we have currently, Let's Do Leicester.
Okay.
I'm going to make that more of an involved thing. I'm going to get it out there, what you can do to get involved in terms of employment, in terms of coaching, in terms of volunteering. And then I'm going to have a section at the back, which is basically FAQs, frequently answered questions, and a little bit to encourage BAME and LGBTQ+ to also really want to get involved because they don't feel off-put or intimidated at all, which is definitely an impression I think some of them get, not all of them, but some.
Okay. Yeah, so within the uni, what do you think the biggest problem is to do with sport? Why do you think it's being sidelined so much, as you said earlier?
I think one of the greatest challenges that I as club captain have faced this year is the repercussions of the movement from the university from the union to the university. And I think that sometimes funding isn't there. I think sometimes the efficiency isn't there. And I think having a full-time position, again, me or Grace, would really go a long way to transform that. I think that's what's missing, is that key person to work alongside Paul and really get everyone buzzing a little bit. I think we need to put Leicester back on the map for sport. It's not Loughborough, but I'm not aiming to make it Loughborough next year. I'm aiming to get there one day, and I think that'll be a really satisfying thing to do, to really put it back on the map.
Okay, so you touched on not having the funding. How would you go about that? How would you get people to fund towards sport?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's been a lot of pots that we haven't looked at, such as the university itself and such as the alumni. I don't think that's really been exploited as much as we really need it. One of the problems I faced as club captain was just getting simple stuff like umpires and referees in place for my weekly fixtures, and that's going to be really easy if we get enough people on board with this Let's Do Leicester thing. We just really need to market it, put it out there, make sure it's in place in people's brains. I could make some money this year. If I start on this whole football refereeing course and do a few games, and I'll start making some money for myself. And I think what is most important with a lot of the roles, whether that's well-being, whether that's engagement, education, is that information needs to be there from day one, so people can really get enthusiastic about it and really look forward to it throughout the semester.
Okay, so straight in here, you aim to display footage online on student union screens. Who's doing that? Is it going to be you?
So this is really exciting. I just announced it on my club page. So Fiore's bought a sports code, which is a top-of-the-range program that analyzes players, everything, their movement, their speed, their transition, their ball count, their sort of accuracy in terms of shooting or scoring, and that's going to make it really important for clubs to film their games. And I'm going to have like play of the day going on the screens. I'm going to have like a Team Leicester Snapchat, which is like maybe my little guilty pleasure or my like manifesto. I'm really excited for that. And it's going to be like all across like the screens on the Union, and then we'll get obviously like activities involved, and we'll get them on it. Like I just love to see like someone like scoffing 20 chicken nuggets from the Chicken Nugget Society, you know, alongside like I don't know, a really awesome like goal in the cross. So I think that's going to be really awesome.
Oh, nice, definitely sounds like a brilliant idea. So before we end off this interview, we're going to play a quick game. It's a word association game, right? I'm going to fire out some words at you.
I love this game.
Okay, well, I'm expecting some good answers then.
Oh no.
So are you ready?
No. Okay. Let's go.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so here's your first word: union.
University.
Sports.
Code.
Students.
Union.
Inspiration.
Sports.
Rasteen.
Fun.
Last.
Video.
Goal.
Goal. Score.
Change.
Better.
Leicester.
Home.
Thank you so much, Rasteen. Good luck
Thank
for the
you so
elections.
much,
Thank
Ash.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.